of Gay UK. This is GaydarRadio.
It's Neil and Debbie here at the Albert Kennedy Trust in central London this afternoon for the launch of an amazing new campaign, and we are joined here with the brilliant Paul O'Grady.
Hello.
Also, we've got with us some, I was going to say Sam, he's later on, Andrew Hayden-Smith.
Hello.
And we're also joined by Matthew Woodward. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, where do I start? I was with AKT about 6 years ago. I was with them for 3 years when I got placed in care, obviously because of the background I was from. They really helped me for a term of life around. They turned the negative energy I had back then into a positive lifestyle now, and ever since I left AKT, it's just been it's been crazy really. I mean, I've worked at a few holiday camps, you know, I got a media entertainment manager within my 3rd year, and now I'm looking to go back to university, and basically just helped me, give me hope for the future, made me make a fresh start really.
Now, you're one of the positive results to come out of the Albert Kennedy Trust. Paul,
Don't say I'm one of the negative. Why am I always before and after, and I'm the after? Why is that the story in my life?
Just tell us a little bit about why you are involved with the Albert Kennedy Trust.
Well, believe it or not, I used to work in social services in my past life, you know, before I went into this nonsense. And there used to be, we called them, I think they're called house, I don't know what they're called now, but we called it flop house, you know what I mean, DOS houses, and you'd often go down with somebody to get them in, and you'd see vulnerable kids in with middle-aged men, you know, the big kid is 16, 15, 16, in the middle of this dormitory. Not right, not a good environment. A 16-year-old, I think, should be with their family, you know, that's the aim of the game, really. And of course, if it doesn't work out, then to find a good carer, or to find a good mentor, just a safe environment for them. You know, that's what I feel anyway, finding a safe environment for kids. And it'd be lovely if we could get more carers, I think. You've got to be trained and sussed out and all that business. You know, just take a stroll off the street and say, well, I'll have half a dozen lesbians, we shove them in the back bedroom. We're not having that. No way. You've got to be, you know, you've got to be sussed first. But it's a very worthwhile, I think, it really is. It's sort of adult fostering. You know, but there's more to it than that, because you're dealing with an extremely, I mean, look, we've got a lovely success story here. We really, you know, you're dealing with a vulnerable kid, and you can go 2 ways. You can go down the road of drugs, prostitution, or you can go on another road, education, you know, self-respect, and that's what the Albert Kennedy Trust tries to do.
Now, the gorgeous Andrew Hayden-Smith is here as well.
Oh, I didn't get gorgeous.
Paul O'Grady.
Too late. Just because I've got owl bites all over me. I'm into owls, by the way, if anybody's out there listening.
I'm sorry.
I'm saying on your gaydar.
Is that on your gaydar?
Yeah, it's on my gaydar profile. Into owls.
You know what I mean.
There'll be some loon out there to be into owls and bottle feeding lambs, don't worry, wellies.
Along with the lovely Sir Paul here, you are involved in this film which is launched today. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the film is basically the 5 of us in different scenarios of, well, it's called What Might Have Been, so it's the different scenarios that we could have ended up in had we not have had support in coming out or been as fortunate.
A sort of sliding doors kind of situation.
He looks okay on this, even though he's covered in tattoos and needle marks and bruises. He couldn't hide his beauty. Have you seen the picture of me? Jesus Christ. I mean, I'm sorry. When they put the makeup on me, I looked in the toilet and thought, oh my, is this what I've got to face? Is this what I've got coming in about 10 years? I mean, and I'll be honest with you, it really depressed me doing the advert for about a week.
Yeah.
Afterwards, it really got to me because I was in this awful cellar with one of the crew banging on a window, supposed to be, you know, what a hideous kid on this sink estate, in this rat-infested midden of a bedsit that this character was living in. And I do often think, I mean, if I see somebody in a park with a bottle of cider, you know, ramble into a tree, I think there with the grace of God go, aye, seriously, because you never know which way life's going to take you. And at that age, when you're vulnerable, if a 16-year-old, you know, you need guidance, don't care what anybody says. You do need for want of a better word, a fairy godfather or godmother. It's just to look after you, to keep you under their wing.
And Andrew, what role did you play in the film?
I'm a junkie in the film. I did, like Paul, I had one of those moments when I was on set where I thought this could have ended up very differently, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a little odd, but yeah, the reason I wanted to get involved with the campaign was when I came out, I was fortunate to be surrounded by a loving family and friends who totally accepted it. I was in a stable job already, and I just thought if I can use my profession to help others out who haven't been as fortunate, then good thing.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the actual advert, because it's really hard hitting. I mean, it's got people like Ian McKellen in it and Sam Fox, and obviously you both as well. And when you watch it, it really kind of punches you in the stomach and the heart to think that these poor kids who are vulnerable anyway, they've been thrown out of their house for being gay or LGBT, and then the public turn on them, and they're just abused from every angle you can imagine. Was it like that? You know, if you put yourself back to when you were a teenager just coming out, did you have a moment that you could have experienced that, like you'd had to leave home and be homeless?
No, to be honest. I mean, I was lucky. I had a really loving family. I had a mother who used to say, when are you leaving home? I'll be 9. She'd say, it's about time you leave. I used to go to school and think, Christ, they probably move when I get home, not tell me. But she was like that anymore. But no, I had a really supportive, loving family, slightly unorthodox family. And so I was very, very lucky. And what makes me laugh is you look at stuff like Glee, you know, and you have the token gay in Glee, and everybody's accepting of him in the class, and isn't he wonderful? Waterloo Road, it's not like that in reality. Things haven't changed. In school, kids are still extremely homophobic. I used to see this when I worked in social services. So it takes a lot of guts for a kid to come out, you know, with his peers, in a class full of boys, say, with a teacher maybe who likes the rugby players and the football players, who will also be bullied by the teacher. It really does take a lot of guts to come out. It's okay if you've got money, if you're in a safe environment, a nice middle class family, but if you're on a sink estate somewhere, going to an extremely rough school, then to come out is virtually impossible, I would say, without some sort of bullying. It's going to happen. You know, even though we've got all these supposed role models in shows, you know, on television, it's not like that in real life. It really isn't.
One of the success stories of the Albert Kennedy Trust is Matthew Woodward, who is here.
Oh, well, he's different, this. He's hiding high in it,
Well, presumably you had trouble with your own family, did you?
Well, my mother kind of accepted who I was, but I didn't come out until I actually went into AKT, but it was just the actual area I was in at the time, because obviously, like, kids know, like, you know, when someone's different in high school, they know that that's something that's not quite right. So obviously they turn to homophobia, which is like, you know, it's still common, even though it's the 21st century, you know, it is still, like, really common, and, you know, people are homophobic. So, I mean, once there, I particularly had a problem. The rest of my family, like, you know, just turned it back, because they are quite, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Very old-fashioned, you know, they like it a certain way, and like when it doesn't happen that way, when there's someone different in the family, you know, they don't like it, they like the comfortability of, like, you know, what, like, how they've always done it. But I mean, I guess my mother was the exception, you know, she was very supportive of me, but I didn't actually come out until after I left, because I was comfortable then, I was brave enough, because my carers, you know, taught me a new way of, like, you know, just be yourself, and that's when I decided to come out to my mum.
So did you just leave home then? What exactly happened?
I just told my mum, you know, like, I've always been, like, kind of a free spirit anyway, you know, I was, like, travelling everywhere, like, 9 years old, you know.
Travelling at 9? Oh my God!
Everywhere, but I just said, you know, I think, I just made up some story that I was moving in with some friends, you know. She said, I think you're a bit silly at that age to be doing something with, like, people your own age, you know, because at 16 if you're moving with a lot of friends, how does that work? But, you know, I kind of cut my tracks, and then I just said, you know, I'm going to be leaving home, and, like, just kind of, I had to lie for a while, and then I just thought, you know, I'm going to come home with the truth, so.
And how did you find your way to the Albert Kennedy Trust? How did that connection occur?
Well, a friend of mine, like, told me about it in high school, because there was one girl who was told, like, you know, I was gay, and, well, she was very supportive. She was, like, kind of the only friend I had in high school, you know, and, well, she knew about it, and then, like, I looked into it, and then, I had started seeing the counsellor at the time, and then I got referrals for the Albert Kennedy Trust, and it kind of went from there.
Can we talk about the cuts in the government at the moment? Because obviously with this advert, it's highlighting an area that's really being kind of neglected at the moment with the government. If you could give a message to David Cameron about this very topic about LGBT people being homeless and kind of being beaten up and very vulnerable, what would it be, bearing in mind the huge cuts that we made?
I've got one word for him: resign. That's it. Get out of the job, mate. I'm sorry, a pair of fools. They absolutely are a pair of fools. They've no idea what's going on the shop floor, you know what I mean? And I'm not being Scouse working class here when I say this, but the public school boys, they've no idea what it's like. I suppose if they said, "Mummy, I'm gay," it'd be a different kettle of fish. When I said to I was in the CHE, the Campaign for Homosexual Equality, back in the year dot. Everything was black and white. And they had the very first rally I was on, which was in Morecambe, and we all went on a coach trip off to Morecambe, and all these lesbians and gays invaded Morecambe. Imagine Morecambe in the 70s, freaked. And I was fired up when I went home and said, "I'm going to tell my mother." And she was under the stairs, in the cupboard, looking for a bird cage. I don't know why, because we hadn't had a budgie for 25 years, but she's obviously thought, "I must get that bird cage out." And I thought, I could just see her backside. I'll say it now, so I don't have to look it in there. I said, "Mum, I'm gay." And she come out and she went, "Gay in the arse." And as she was going out into the arch, she said, "Just don't let me catch you wearing my clothes." Oh no! You see, if I don't know. Well, nowadays, I said, "Mother, I have an aversion to crimpling. I'm sorry, there's no danger." And tenderly. But she was fine, but that was her attitude. But that's what our family's like. It was okay for me. But the cuts are shameful, absolutely shameful. Not just in this area, in every area really.
Yeah, all HIV funding's been cut.
Oh, shocking, shocking. I mean, they wouldn't see it as important. That's what annoys me. They see this as trivial, or they'd rope it in with another department's, vulnerable kids or something. But they're not actually going to. I can't see that. Actually, if you get a penny out of them, you'd be lucky, really. Like in this shower, I'm not. Ooh, you picked it on one end. And I could say a lot more.
Well, maybe they could take one of your roles that you did in the advert. They could live that life for a while and see just how bad it is.
Joking,
they wouldn't. Well, they wouldn't. But maybe they need to.
Their idea of a bad time is no olive oil. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, it really is. They piss me off. Can you say piss off on Gaydar?
You can.
But they do. They really piss me off. The cuts they're making in the National Health and Social Services and everything is disgraceful. Really disgraceful. And of course, who's going to suffer? The vulnerable. That's who's going to suffer at the end of the day. And it's the same old story, the old musical song. It's the poor what gets the blame. And it's true. It's absolutely true. So that's who the cuts are going to affect. The vulnerable, people who haven't got any money, the disabled, and the likes of the Albert Kennedy Trust, because they wouldn't see it as anything worthwhile, worth backing. It's not a horse worth putting the money on.
Andrew Hayden-Smith, just coming back to the film, what piece of advice would you give to anybody at the moment who is maybe hearing this and listening and it hasn't come out yet, and is maybe in a difficult situation? What kind of things would you say to them to sort of help them on their way?
Just to get in touch with the Trust, because it does fantastic work, as we've heard today. There's the mentor scheme, the support, the shelter, it's all there for them. All they have to do is get in touch, go to the website or pick up the phone.
And what are your hopes for the film that you've all appeared in?
People don't recognise me. So honestly, they go, "Jesus, he's aged." It was makeup. I was horrible. He came up from makeup, someone looked at him, he was all in his neat tattoos and scalps and what have you. And I went out and I looked at myself and they put me in these awful clothes. Liver spots all over me, and I thought, "Oh, Jesus." But it's true though, that's the way you can go. That's a long way down the line from when my character was 16 and chucked out of his house by his parents, and the damage and the long-term effect that will have. Rejection is a terrible thing. I mean, it really is. It can do so much damage, especially to a young kid who's unsure of himself or herself.
Anything else you'd like to add?
It's going to be pretty shocking, I think, and that's what we want, really.
Yeah.
Oh, it's hideous, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
Hideous. It was unpleasant doing it, so I don't know what it's going to be like. I haven't seen it. Listen, I never watched Blank as the Bloody Blank. Sitting watching myself. I've never watched myself on anything. That's why I don't do voiceovers or adverts, because I'll be sitting in the middle watching Collie, and in the middle I'll hear, "Oasis, out and poppy." And I think, whatever you got for that, it wasn't worth the distress that it causes me, so I don't do anything like that. So I do specific things, and I know what time it's on, so I can be out or not watch it.
And Matthew, obviously you're fairly new to all this. What advice would you pass on to anybody who's been through a similar situation that you've been through yourself?
Well, obviously, the relationship I have with my mother, it's like, it was one in a million, because everyone else that I met for AKT, they come from, some traumatic backgrounds, and before AKT, all of us thought we were alone. So, you know, if for anyone who is listening and think they are alone at this age, you know, there is somewhere you can go and, like, you know, it's confidential, and, you know, you'll definitely see the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, if you can't find any help at the moment, definitely the Albert Kennedy Trust is, it's the only charity of its kind, really. So I definitely say, like, it helped me, so it can help you as well. So yeah, if you need some help, get in touch with the AKT.
Yeah, that's very true, because at that age, you can't cope on your own. Forget it, don't care who you are, you need help. You need to talk to somebody, you really do. Not a friend, you know, you need proper advice. So definitely the Albert Kennedy Trust, I'd go and speak to them. And it's always nice to have somebody to talk to who's a stranger. Often you can offload,
exactly,
you know, to somebody you don't know, rather than somebody at school, say, or a teacher. Just go to an anonymous person and tell them everything. I think the Albert Kennedy Trust is great for what they're doing there.
Funny, I think people are going to be really shocked when they see the advert, because the names who are in it.
That's bloody shocked, isn't it?
Yeah, but how did, I mean, an incredible lineup for a hard-hitting advert. How did you get involved with the Albert Kennedy Trust in the beginning?
Well, it was Anthony Cotton, you know, Sean Tully from Coronation Street, who rang me up and said, look, we'd like you to do this, are you interested? And what made me laugh was, when it came through the proposal to my agent, she rang me up and she said, because I've made a career playing prostitutes. My very first job was a rent boy at the Domhnall Warehouse, yeah, and then I went on to the Bill playing prosy, and then the name of the father, I was the prison hooker, you know, and all this, and then Lily was a prostitute, 25 years of that. And God love her, Joan, she said, I think they probably want you to play the hooker. I said, at 55! I said, you know, they're going to like, the oldest hooker on the block stood there. I said, I don't think so. So when she told me what it was, I thought, oh God, I don't like doing vulnerable, me. I really don't, you know, I'm not that type of person. And I found it to do distressing, so to watch, I shouldn't. It's awful, you know. I mean, I remember seeing you coming up, it was horrific, the space, and Sam Fox and Sue Perkins, God love her. You know, it's just very distressing, but that's the way you can go, you know, that's the harsh reality, that's what can happen.
Well, listen, it's been an absolute treat to talk to you all. Thank you so much for doing everything tonight. You're lovely, lovely men, and thank you for doing what you've done for the Albert Kennedy Trust.
No, and I just hope anybody listening to this who is sat in the bedroom, a young kid, pulling their hair out with worry, just don't, you know, because there are people out there who can help you and can offer you support and guidance, which is more important. So go and see the Albert Kennedy Trust.